Good morning, everyone. For Telesur, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin in Australia, where dozens of people are being held hostage in a cafe in the heart of downtown Sydney. A gunman walked into the Lindt Chocolate Cafe, taking everyone there hostage. He forced them to display a flag with Arabic writing. Many suspect the man is a member of the Islamic State group, which controls large parts of Iraq and Syria. The police have not been able to confirm how many hostages are in the cafe, but say they are fewer than original estimates of 30 or 40. 5 hostages managed to escape Monday afternoon.
And I assure you, if it takes a bit of time, we will take the time.
Prime Minister Tony Abbott released a brief statement confirming the siege at the coffee shop. He called the situation a national priority that the National Security Committee has met to discuss. Abbott attempted to reassure Australians that law enforcement and security agencies are well trained and equipped to deal with the situation.
No sabemos si esto está motivado por razones políticas, aunque obviamente hay algunos.
Police in Australia carried out 4 other anti-terrorist operations in other parts of Sydney on Monday. The actions were not related to the hostage situation at the coffee shop, according to police. The Sydney Opera House was evacuated after a suspicious package was found. 2 men were also arrested on suspected terrorist-related crimes in other parts of the city. Officials also confirmed another anti-terrorist operation underway in neighboring Karambata on Monday afternoon, but they have not so far given any further details. And we go to France, where authorities report that police have launched raids across the country early Monday. The operation is targeting an alleged network that sends jihadist fighters to Syria. Elite and anti-terror police units descended on around a dozen targets in Toulouse, Paris, and Normandy. It was not immediately clear how many people were arrested. About 1,000 French nationals from a wide range of backgrounds are estimated to have left to join jihadists in Iraq and Syria. Some 400 are thought to currently be fighting on the ground, and nearly 50 have been killed. To Cuba and Latin America now, and where Caribbean leaders met over the weekend for the 13th meeting of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America. The ALBA summit concluded on Sunday with the bloc of left-leaning leaders condemning the United States for its interference in the region. The leaders demanded that Washington end its economic blockade on Cuba and condemned the country for the new sanctions it imposed on Venezuela. They also showed their support for non-member Argentina and denounced U.S. courts for interfering in the country's debt issues. In Mexico, violence has broken out in Chilpancingo between police and protesters who continue to demand justice for the 43 disappeared students from the state of Guerrero. Demonstrators were on their way to prepare for a concert in honor of the 43 missing youths when police stopped their buses. The demonstrators say the police were clearly drunk on alcohol. The officials then left, but then returned with a backup of 30 men and began attacking the students, leaving 17 of them injured. The Senate's Government Commission revealed a report handed to them by the Attorney General's office. The government report says that so far 80 people have been arrested in connection with the September 26 attack against the teacher training students. The Attorney General's office said 5 people of 16 that participated in the abduction of the students are under arrest. Authorities insist the 43 students were burnt to ashes despite scientific evidence that says incineration of 43 bodies would have required tons of wood and huge amounts of fuel. In Colombia this weekend, the FARC guerrilla group has fired back at President Juan Manuel Santos after he accused them of having links to drug traffickers. The rebels strongly deny the allegations and say Santos is deliberately trying to confuse Colombians. In a statement released on Sunday, the FARC called the accusations, quote, treacherous and useless to the peace process, end quote. Peace negotiations between the government of Colombia and the FARC reconvened last week, leaving many hopeful that an agreement would be reached to end 50 years of armed struggle. And to the U.S., where protests following the killings of unarmed black men by police officers continued across the country this Saturday. Thousands marched in Washington, D.C., New York, and Boston. Organizers say the rallies were among the largest in a recent wave of protests that have turned global focus on race relations in the U.S. The marches were mainly peaceful, though police in Boston did arrest 23 people who tried to block a highway. Officers in Oakland, California say they detained about 45 people for vandalism, failure to disperse, and resisting arrest. On Sunday, thousands of Palestinians marked the 27th anniversary of the founding of Hamas. The group staged its largest show of force since the end of Israeli attacks this summer. Israeli forces attacked the parade with tear gas. Palestinian youth responded by throwing rocks. Hamas leaders warned that another confrontation with Israel might be inevitable unless the promised reconstruction of Gaza is permitted. Israel launched a 50-day violent offensive on Gaza, killing over 2,000 Palestinians, mostly civilians, this past summer. The attack also leveled tens of thousands of homes. Palestinian officials are expected to go before the UN Security Council this Wednesday to present a proposal for an end to Israel's occupation. If the draft is rejected, the Palestinian Authority announced it would apply to become a member of various international organizations, including the International Court of Justice. That would permit them to demand legal action against the Israeli officials responsible for 3 devastating wars on Gaza.
And I think it's time now for the international community.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry met with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov on Sunday. Lavrov told Kerry that Russia wants to avoid the crisis in the Middle East from worsening. Kerry will meet Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu later today. The Israeli leader is expected to tell Kerry that Tel Aviv will not accept a UN resolution setting a time frame for the Israeli withdrawal from certain Palestinian territories. Kerry will meet with leaders of the Arab League on Tuesday regarding the Palestine state proposal. More on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Weddle. Have a great Monday.